Welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going, man?
Things are great. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have you on, dude. I always like having these conversations with different athletes from throughout the sport, and you are a very talented athlete in your own right, but you also have a really cool job. So I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for a fun conversation. So how's the winter treating you in Jackson right now?
It's felt more like fall, I think, than probably winter days that we've had so far. But yeah, I mean, it's still great. I mean, the good part about Jackson is like there's never a shortage of activities that you can do. So it's January, and as much as I would love to be powder skiing, you know, 50 degrees it feels like in the sun sometimes. Like still great running weather. So and I grew up on the East Coast, so it's like a little bit firmer, icy snow, and that's still really, really fun skiing too. So it's been
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I got to ask, that's probably the lead question is like, how do you like living there? It's obviously such a destination town for so many people across the country. I enjoy my time there every time I go there for a Cirque Series race or for something else. I mean, it seems like just like a great playground.
I mean, I think it's the like world's greatest playground. Like I mean, the outdoor opportunities here are truly endless. And I mean, I've lived here since 2011, and I literally feel like whether it's summer, winter, spring, or fall, there's some new activity that I didn't even realize was possible in this valley and in the Tetons that you can get into. And as much fun as like the mountains and the rivers and the lakes and everything is here, is like the community. To your point, it is like such a tourist destination, but the community here is just outstanding as well. And honestly, that's probably been the thing that's kept me here over the years. Is like there's so many amazing people and individuals, and there's also so many great mentors. Where, like I said, there's so many awesome activities, and so many people are experts in that specific niche, or whether it's rafting, climbing, skiing, running, biking, caving, whatever. And so you kind of have like this opportunity to participate in so many different like variables and different activities and also be mentored by like truly experts and like some of like the most experienced people in that specific niche. So yeah, it's a really unique, I think, community. And it attracts like a very passionate type of person. And yeah, I mean, living in Jackson, I mean, I guess like a quick backstory, like my parents both lived out here and met out here in the late 70s, early 80s. So Jackson's sort of always been like pretty familiar. And then when I was really little, my dad ran a summer school program out here, and so we would kind of live here from like April to August, September.
Oh, wow.
Um, and then yeah, we would just had some really close family friends that were out here. And when I graduated college, I did like a quick stint in Boston for a finance gig and was working in a cubicle. And I was like, this is rough. I don't
It's
know if I
rough.
can do this. And so I lasted about like 6 or 8 months, and then decided, I convinced my parents to sort of let me move to Jackson for this summer. We had some family friends that ran a sort of outdoor gear shop climbing store here. And they were like, yeah, we'll hook you up with a job for the summer. And my dad and I drove out, and there's like one kind of last pass that you come into the east side of the valley. It's called Togety Pass, and it's kind of the first time you get the view of the Tetons. And I remember my dad, after like 3 days of driving, just kind of like smirked and looked over. He's like, "You're going to be here longer than the summer." And almost 15 years later, I guess he was right. Um,
Yeah.
and it's been awesome. I mean, it's. I grew up in New Hampshire, and that's very much like still home. My family is all back there, and I love going back and visiting. But Jackson is for sure like my community and where I spend want to spend my time.
And New Hampshire's just different. Like I love the East Coast, especially the whites and just everything that goes even the greens as well in Vermont. Like it's a great playground there. It's technical, it's different. It's just a different kind of game. Is that how you kind of got into like mountain and winter sports? Was living on the East Coast as far as like being kind of in that New Hampshire community?
Pretty much. I mean, I grew up. I would say like in the Lakes region, right on Newfound Lake, so it's like not just kind of right at the base of the Whites. It's like um, I don't know. I always sort of equate it to it's like the exact same activities that I do out here now, whether it's running, being in the mountains, skiing, fishing, lakes, streams, but everything's just bigger out here, right? The mountains are bigger, the lakes are a little bigger. But it's the same activities. So I think growing up in New Hampshire, it's funny. It's like when I was growing up there, trail running was, I didn't even think of trail running was like, it was a thing, but I didn't like associate trail running. It was just running, right? Like we would run on the trails for cross country practice. We would run on the trails behind our house just as like lunatic 7-year-olds, like raging through the trees and stuff with my brother. And like, that was just running. And so like my first like trail running, I think like association really came from being out here, because like it's, and the community back east has like grown so much, where there's backcountry skiing and or trail running, where now when I go back and I see friends and, they're doing all these really awesome runs up and down Mount Washington and the Prezzies and like, Pemi Loop and all these things. And it's so cool. But like when we would go and do that as kids, we would hike. Like those were hiking trails, and we didn't really run them. I remember like our parents were like, don't run, you're going to trip and fall on a root or something. And so when I go back and visit now, it's so much fun to like go up Mount Lafayette, and, you can do it. My still vision of all those mountains is like, man, these are full day activities. Like this is going to take 6 to 8 hours. And like, sometimes it does, but like you could also run them in an hour and a half now. And I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. It's so fun. You can do this like before work if you want to. But yeah, I think growing up back east was so fun. And just like, it made me truly appreciate, and I still do, like just being outside and like having fun adventures outside. And whether that's walking, running, skiing, doing whatever, just being outside is like the most important thing.
Oh, I love it. And it's interesting too, because like the Northeast, I feel like the whites now get some traffic, but Jackson, especially after going there the last 2 summers and spending time just in those mountains, it's kind of astonishing sometimes, like now with social media culture and everything's on a reel, just how many people flock to these places. How do you deal with, especially living in Jackson or just living in that area, like just the influx of people? Like, do you try to get out, like, and try to get out of there, like get out in the mountains, or do you just like assimilate with it? Like, how does that work for you, somebody like you?
I mean, I think it's like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely 2 schools of thought, right? It's like, there's one, I want more people outside. I want more people being active, and I want more people running and exploring. But at the same time, you show up to a trailhead and you have to park like now 3/4 of a mile away. And it's more of like just people being good stewards in the mountains as well. But I mean, the joke is like, the parking lot might be really, really busy, and maybe the first like 3/4 of a mile or 2 miles of a trail is really busy, but excluding a few places in the park, you can get away from people really, really fast and easy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've never really had issues with, oh, we shouldn't go do this. I mean, if you're going to run around Jenny Lake at 1:00 on a Saturday on the 4th of July, like, yeah, it's going to be rough. But if you go after 4 p.m. or done before 9 a.m., most of the time you're going to be fine. And so it's maybe a little bit picking like where you want to go, but for the most part, I would say don't get deterred by how busy the parking lot is, because it's not always like what that is, 1.5 miles up the trail.
Interesting. Let me ask you this, this is just out of pure, I don't want to say ignorance, but I have never been there in the winter, and I know it's got some of the best skiing in the country, if not the world, at certain times of the year. Does it get really busy in the winter? Like, does it attract like a good amount of tourism from the skiing industry?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think the difference between the summer and the winter crowds is like, in the summer, people are just like sprawled out everywhere. There's just a lot of people in a lot of different areas. And in the winter, like Jackson Hole Mountain Resort gets really, really busy. But outside of that, and like town feels really busy because most people are like coming to ski the village, or they're coming to hang out in town. Maybe they're going snowshoeing in the park, but that's like even a smaller subset of people. So it's just very like isolated, I would say, like population pockets, where like in those areas, it's going to feel really, really busy. But you could go north into the park and feel like there's no one around. Teton Pass is like a really common and great place, for skiing as well. And like on the weekends, it gets really busy. And, if it hasn't snowed like now, and we get some snow, it's going to be really busy before work and things like that too. But again, like parking lot busyness versus like a couple miles out or even a mile out, totally different. But yeah, I think I don't know, it's always a joke of like the people that come in the winter, they're here to usually ski, and hopefully skiing is good and people are just like really having fun and like happy. Sometimes in the summer, it's like the energy levels are just different between like the summer crowd and the winter crowd.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny, man. You bring up like, I don't know. I should have done it. I should have checked them out the last time I was there. But this year when I go out, Mount Glory and Mount Taylor, I think it's Mount Taylor, right off the pass, are two like segments I had on my Strava, like ready to tick off and go check out. It seems like great spots to go run up and down.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's something about that zone that like, cause I'm in Colorado Springs and like, I don't know, your tree line's a little bit lower. So like you get better payoff. I feel like once you hit above 9,000 feet, like there's sparser trees and it's a little bit lower. So you feel like you're higher up. Whereas in like Colorado, I mean, you got to be at like 11 or 12,000 feet for the tree line. And so it's much different, if you will, as far as some of the mountain running. It's got a different feel. And some of it's steeper where you are, which is cool. I don't know, different zones of like different properties, which I think is unique and just adds a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor and Glory are two awesome. I mean, Glory in the winter is like sort of the go-to before work ski lap, where you just like boot pack up. It's about, I don't know, anywhere between like an hour round trip to, if you go really, really fast, maybe you're doing like 40 minutes up and down. But it's just like, it has some awesome skiing. In the summer, it's like a really steep kind of crummy trail, but you can like go up the winter, summer boot pack route and then traverse along the ridge and do some really fun loops back down a little bit further on the pass. And then same thing with Taylor. I was actually on Taylor yesterday and some really, really fun skiing. It's a little bit higher than Glory. It starts a little bit lower and phenomenal running, super fun ridges, really, really fun skiing also. And you just like, you kind of like, it's those two places specifically, where I actually just moved to Wilson and they're like really close to the house now. Where you're just like, man, I can do that before work, after work, if I push it maybe on a lunch break, and you just feel so like privileged to have that right in your backyard with such unbelievable terrain. It's that's like one of the things. You're just like, sometimes you just like, I don't know, I've been here a minute now and I still pinch myself that I get to have that access so close.
The access is crazy, man. I mean, I've been working on my wife to like, I've been trying to talk to her about moving to Driggs, and so far no luck, but one of these days maybe, I don't know. Yeah, the access is what's so crazy. I mean, really doesn't matter what side of the range you're on. Like there is just like, I mean, whether you're on the Targhee side or the Idaho side, I mean, that's amazing access, and the Jackson side's even better. I mean, it's crazy. So
no, Victor Driggs is so fun also. I mean, there's some really, really cool adventures up some of those canyons as well. And yeah, unbelievable access. Victor has like the best milkshakes in the world also.
Do they really?
Oh yeah, Victor Emporium. Next time you're rolling through, stop in there and get some milkshakes.
Oh, dude, noted.
They're outrageous. Yeah.
All right, so let's shift the topic a little bit. I want to talk about your role and what you do with Momentous. That's part of the reason why I did want to have you on the pod, just because I love speaking with athletes. You're this unique hybrid where you are both an athlete at an extremely high level, and we'll talk about some of the things you've done and will be doing. But also, you have this amazing job with Momentous, which is, I mean, I'm a personal user of the brand as far as the different vitamins and supplements and things like that I use, and I don't know. I just feel like they have an incredible level of product out there that they have in the marketplace. So maybe talk about what you do with them, and we'll kind of go from there.
Totally. Well, one, thanks for being a customer and supporting.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Oh man, where to start? Yeah. So I guess like kind of full backstory. So I've been with Momentous since day one. It'll be 10 years this summer. Where we started actually in Jackson in 2016. And it was myself and one other person also named Matt. Matt Wan was the sort of original founder, graduate from Jackson High School. I coached him in track and cross country as well. And, early on when there was just two of us, we both wore a lot of hats, everything from customer service, setting up a website, Amazon, finance, operations, like, you sort of just like split the responsibilities down the middle. You take this, I'll take that. But I've always sort of found myself within like the supply chain and operations, and that's kind of like where I was just the most passionate and interested. So we had this sort of fundamental belief that like the world did not need another protein powder company out there, but we did believe that it needed a better one. So we had the opportunity to partner with a couple of professional dietitian and strength and conditioning coaches, and we essentially went and kind of told them our idea, and we're like, if you guys could build a protein powder, where would you get the ingredients from? What would be the ratio and sort of like formulation for the specific products and the ingredients? What wouldn't you put in it? What type of certifications does it need to live up to? And then it was my job to go and find a manufacturer that would actually be flexible enough to go find a whey protein from some grass-fed farm in Europe with all these like laundry lists of requirements and things like that, and then to do it in a brand new startup format of very low quantities and things like that. And I got laughed out of a lot of meetings in terms of what we wanted to accomplish, but I guess like a lot of the roots in the DNA and like kind of the commitment to quality and true independent third-party certification started from day one. And we knew we wanted to build a product that lived in professional and collegiate locker rooms, not so much to like only service athletes, but as like, if it's good enough to live in that locker room, it's good enough. We wanted to build a company and a product for everyone. And so when we think about what are the high performers and the top level athletes using and why, and then bringing that to everyone. Because if you're thinking about it as like protein powder, and what we still view it as, like protein's a macronutrient, right? Everyone needs protein. And the reality is most people are not getting enough protein throughout their typical diet. And I think there's a lot of benefits of a protein powder. There's a lot of, sort of like nuance within the protein powder sector as well. So picking the right one for you is important. But we really thought about it. Doesn't matter if, LeBron James is using it, it's going to be good enough. That same quality of protein should be the same quality of protein that everyone's using. So we learned a lot of like where to source ingredients from, how do we get it tested and certified, what type of manufacturing processes do we need to go through, and all along the way, my role now is new product sort of like innovation, and where I spend most of my time is ingredient sourcing, new products, certification, science, and quality for Momentous. So we've launched a lot of other products since then of just protein powders, but I think all along the way, whether it's like a protein powder that's going to live, for an athlete, or like a zinc or a multivitamin that maybe is less athletic specific, it still has every single fundamental component of building it for a pro and collegiate locker room use.
I think that was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me, and why I choose to use that product is because, it seems, it not even seems like, it comes across like very product first, a lot of dedication to cleanliness, dedication to it being, like the words escape me for what I'm trying to go with, but like, you could just tell it's very legitimate. And in a world where you got to be really careful with your supplements, if you're buying stuff off Amazon, for instance, right? Like a lot of stuff's fake. I think it's very important, especially from the athletic side, to get legit stuff. And that's what it always, stuck out to me with. One of the questions I have for you about early on, right? I don't know if people understand this, but like trying to go to places where you're trying to get clean vats and get things that aren't, maybe tainted or whatever, because a lot of times athletes will test positive for stuff that they didn't even know they were taking, whether it's some sort of anabolic or whatever, when they're just trying to take a multivitamin because the vats aren't clean. How that must have been a pain in the ass to try and do that from day one, try to find these places that are going to have just clean vats and kind of like clean sports certified, if you will.
Oh man, we could go down a rabbit hole right now.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So the supplement industry is crazy in a lot of ways, and it's gotten better, I would say, over the years. At least the almost 10 years that I've been a part of it. But to your point, there's so many different steps along the supply chain, whether it's from the raw ingredient supplier to the manufacturer that's going to blend it, encapsulate it, to the packaging lines, to the warehousing and stability, process that goes through, always showing up on your front doorstep ultimately, right? Like there's so many different steps and so many different opportunities for something to sneak into the product that, as a brand or as a manufacturer, you had no intention of actually ending up there, but it very well could. And so one thing I would say, and this is like not fear mongering at all, but like if you're an athlete and you have, even if you're not an athlete, like I wouldn't take any supplement that is not third party certified. And what I mean by third party, like third party tested is the very like marketing nuance language. I think in the, every supplement brand says they're third party tested, and they're starting to say they're third party certified. And what Momentous believes is third party certification is we use NSF Certified for sport. And that is a true independent third party. Like it takes a very long time to get these products certified, costs a lot of money, and you do it every single production lot, and not even like, and there'll be multiple lots within a production batch, right? Like, and so they're testing every single lot for banned substance screening. So to make sure there isn't any cross contamination within the product and finished product, right? Like we're not testing powders or, pre-capped samples. It's like, we're literally sending packaged units in for these third-party testings. And you never know, right? Like we have great manufacturers. We have unbelievable audited annually cleanliness, cross-contamination processes and protocols put into place to, have it all dialed in, and like still stuff goes sideways. And we've had failed things that have, we've had to scrap entire production lots because something weird happened. And if we didn't have those certifications and those steps put into place, most of the time they're not a consumer health risk, right? Like it's not something that's necessarily harmful, but if you're a professional athlete, it could be a big deal. So yeah, I don't know if you have any opportunity to purchase a product, I would only purchase something that's either Informed Sport or NSF Certified for sport, because those are like pretty much the guarantees that this product's been tested, it's been certified. And not that you shouldn't trust brands that, they're putting their best step forward, but you should definitely kind of want to do a double tap on that. Because it's so there's kind of going back to that, there's just too many steps. There's too many opportunities for something weird to go on. And yeah, I don't think anyone's being malicious about it. But there's just a lot of, things that could happen.
Yeah. I mean, and it happens to a lot. Like, I think the best example I can think of that's like been that caught a lot of notoriety in recent years was, I think it was Khalil Roundtree Jr., who was an MMA fighter. He's like a UFC fighter. And he had like he tested positive, but immediately like went to the UFC and was like, hey, this was from a tainted supplement. Like they were able to figure it out really quickly. I guess a random company that he had been working with that was sourcing supplements for him figured out pretty quickly that it was he tested positive that was in the tainted supplement. And he still had to serve like obviously like a 6-month ban or something like that. And then he went on a podcast, I think it was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about it and things like that. But it just goes to show you how much like it really matters, because it could derail your career as an athlete 6 months to a year if you test positive for something you didn't even know you were taking, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like, I look at a lot of the sports nutrition products out there now, and, I have friends that are taking, I'm not going to name brands, but just stuff that isn't third party certified. And I'm like, man, that's like, again, like it doesn't need to be a complicated product. It could be vitamin D, right? Like, yeah, the likeliness of something going sideways in vitamin D, unlikely, but I can tell you for sure it happens. And again, like without that stamp of, certification on there, I would say the risk is very, very low, but it's still a risk.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's so one of the things I found through Momentous that I take religiously, like every day, is this and this is not like this is just me being an athlete and finding stuff that works for me, is I think it's apigenin is the right way to pronounce it. It's apigenin. And what I'm trying to say is like that's not an easy thing to get a hold of. Like that's a very random thing that has worked very well for me. Who comes up with the stuff? Is that like under your belt, like to come up with these things that that are kind of like not out there, but it's not a super common thing you're going to find on the shelf, even in like a vitamin shop. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so maybe talk about like products like that you guys are continuously kind of developing and finding out and putting out into the world that really work well for athletes and just folks in general.
Yeah, totally. I think a big part of our product strategy is we want to have a product portfolio that hopefully can service people in a really helpful and beneficial way, right? And so when we think about like what drives the biggest impact into people's lives, we call it the Momentous 3. And so that's protein, creatine, and omegas. And so those are like three of the most well-studied, popular, longest, standing supplements around, right? Creatine has unbelievable, cognitive benefits, strength benefits, muscle, energy recovery. Omega-3 is, heart, brain health, like long-term benefits. And then kind of like we were talking about earlier, protein is just like this fundamental macronutrient that everyone needs. And so starting there is really where we've like kind of built the basis of Momentous. Like we want to be able to serve like what's going to drive the biggest impact. And then from there, obviously there's people that, want to have sleep optimization, and in which case there's specific types of magnesium or apigenin or L-theanine that can be really beneficial to help, optimize people's sleeps without making a standard sleep supplement and loading it up with a ton of melatonin that's just going to knock you out. I'm like, are you going to fall asleep? Yeah, but what's your quality of sleep actually going to be like? So with a product like apigenin, it's really quite interesting where, its benefits are really toggled to help like relax and sort of maintain an even keeled sleep. So we combo it with a magnesium L-threonate and L-theanine. And so there are three individual products that we sort of combined for like our sleep protocol, which helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and kind of enhance the quality of deep sleep. And so we think about sleep as a category, right? It's like same thing as like protein as a category. It's like sleep is something that every single person needs. And if you can improve your sleep, you're going to improve so many other aspects of life. And then we kind of go through another categories of like cognitive benefits and cognitive health, where it's like if you can have, long-term brain benefits and help sustain that, what are we looking at from a supplementation process and protocol from there? So we really approach it, and then gut health is another one that we're starting to look at really seriously now. And then you have athletic supplements and sort of performance categories. So we look at it more of like human behavior and what are like big drivers within human, processes and protocol, whether it's sleep, cognitive, sports, hormones, gut health. And then we do a deep dive into science and work with, either internal or external subject matter experts to think about what are the right products, what are the right ingredients, what is the right clinical study dose that you can, have an effective benefit from. So that's sort of how we explore new products and new ingredients specifically at a super high level.
Yeah.
And then, expanding in said categories of like, do we want, unique form factors or flavors or, combinations of ingredients to help reduce the number of capsules to make actual formulas instead of standalone single ingredients?
Super cool. Yeah, I appreciate you being open and like talking about that. I got to ask you, because you had mentioned subject matter experts. Andrew Huberman is like a very like speaks about a lot of the products. Like how were you guys able to get like that stamp of approval and to work with him? Like I think that's really interesting and cool.
Yeah, I think so. We partnered with Huberman 2022, I believe. And I mean, Huberman's obviously a genius in so many areas and is a subject matter expert in so many different areas as well. And, a lot of his guests, like if he's not a specific, expert in an area, his, podcast guests are, unbelievable resources as well. And Huberman was definitely a person who had a lot of influence over like when we think about sleep, when we think about some of these categories. And he was really helpful and, still is very helpful on just creating sort of like, how do we think about these protocols and how do we think about behaviors that can support these protocols, right? Like supplements, I would say is like the 10% of what will overall help people, right? Like it's got to start with behavioral changes, and whether that's a good, sleep hygiene, where it's like you're not looking at your phone and then trying to fall asleep, and just like simple behavioral edits that you can make to hopefully drive, again, that biggest impact into people's lives. Supplements play a role in that, but they're not the only tool in the toolbox there. So Huberman has, been a great thought partner. We used to sponsor the podcast. We don't currently, but he's, I obviously like to bounce ideas off him, and obviously like he's so in tune with what both is sort of like within the world kind of emerging, has been really helpful as well.
Interesting. I have a totally out of left field product question for you that just popped up in my head. I've been thinking about this. I used to see Joe Gray all the time with the PR lotion, and I've never ordered it for myself, and I've like been meaning to. What is that specifically?
So PR lotion it's basically a topical sodium bicarbonate, right? So Morton has come out with their sodium bicarb as well. And PR lotion has been around since 2017, 2018. And its original goal was basically to bypass the GI possible issues that you would get with consuming sodium bicarb. So it's a topical lotion that you would apply like 30 to 60 minutes before training, specifically endurance, running, cycling, Nordic skiing, things like that, to your like major muscle groups. So quads, hamstrings, glute, lower back, things like that, depending on what you're training, I guess, probably specifically. But it buffers the lactic acid and the pH level in the muscle. So very similar to what Morton has just come out with, or I guess came out with last year, a couple of years ago, but in a much different form factor way.
Say less. You just sold one for me. I'm gonna literally order it after this.
Dude, it's super interesting. It's a really unique product, and it's something we still have. It's still on. It's called Amp Human PR Lotion in the product line, but the use case and like the adoption for that product had such a great adoption and following, and it's. I don't know. People use different things for different reasons, but I think like Joe Gray has been like a very early, if not one of the first adopters of it. And from a science level, it reacts the exact same, in the body. It's more of like you just have to get the timing right of when you actually apply it, things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's super interesting because like I think the big thing now, you see David Roche and others, everybody's talking about bicarb. It's like the hot new thing that's out now, or hot thing that's out. And I've even seen like companies talking about, I saw like bicarb bars recently on Instagram. I had like saved the tab for it. So it's like starting to really take out and been being a big thing. But if you could do it without having to consume anything and you just topically apply it, like say less, that makes life so much easier,
That's it's a really good point. I haven't done a ton of like research or overall thinking about it so much, but like when you actually consume the bicarb, right? Like it's a lot of sodium going into your system. And I don't know ultimately what the difference would be between like topical lotion versus, consuming the product. Like if there's like different areas in there, but yeah, I don't know. That's a curious one. If there's any changes. I mean, certainly the great part about the lotion is like you reduce any risk for GI distress. And I think the Morton product has done a pretty good job of protecting that by kind of, hydroproofing it. But, I think if you get the ratio wrong, it still could be a risk.
Yeah. And plus, like, I mean, I think the biggest complaint I hear from most people is the taste. Tastes horrible, which I have not tried. It's
pretty sludgy.
Yeah. So when you're comparing that to something you just rub on your body, it's like, like I said, say less, it's much easier. Want to shift gears a little bit out of Momentous and talk about you as the runner now that we're about the halfway mark. Like I said, you are this interesting dichotomy where you have this really cool role, but you're also an extremely elite athlete in your own right. Like you are, I mean, dude, I was really blown away this summer. I mean, you went 54 minutes at Cirque Series Grand Targhee, which is a very elite time. I mean, anything under an hour on that course is pretty legit. You've also won Rendezvous back in the day, like not too long ago. You compete at a very high level, and I was super excited to see you going to Broken Arrow this year, which also prompted part of this conversation, going to the 46K. Maybe talk about your running background, dude. I know you kind of talked about your background in sport in general, but I know you've got this track and field and cross country background as well. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how that kind of flowed into trail running for you.
Yeah. at a high level, I just love running. Like whether it's on a road, track, trail, snow, sand, whatever. I love the sport of running. I think the only place you won't find me running is probably on a treadmill. Just hate the stationary thing. But I've been running since sixth grade. I have an older brother; he's a year older. He's also a runner. My dad was a runner. My dad was actually the cross country and track coach for like our rivalry high school growing up. So there was a lot of fun things that happened there. But really early on, just like fell in love with the sport, right? Like had awesome community, through middle school and high school, and it was something that I was pretty good at, I guess. I grew up in a small town and, my brother was a really, really great runner. I always tried to beat him and I always failed beating him, in high school, except for one race. But ultimately, like, I knew I wanted to be, this was like something that was a huge passion of mine. And kind of going back to what we talked about a while ago, it's just like, it just got us outside. And like, for most of our childhood, like even up until like college, like we didn't really think about going for a run as training. Like going for a run was just fun. Like it was fun to do it with our teammates. It was fun to do it with our, siblings and brother. And just like, I remember some of the areas that my dad and my parents would take us and they're like, okay, just go run. Like we'll see you in 60 minutes. Just go run. And that was just the most fun. It was like a very like free feeling. And so it didn't matter where it was. It could have been in a city or on a trail or wherever. Like that was just like the best part. And some of my best friends today are like my high school teammates that, I talked to this morning still. And I would say my collegiate running career was like up and down, but probably mostly down. It was pretty rough. And I just remember like graduating college. I mean, like there's way more in this sport that I want out of, like, and I know I'm like, just like felt very unfulfilled. And then moving to Jackson, it's like very much just part of the everyday life and culture. And most of the time I was like, man, I need to keep running just so I can like be an athlete to go have friends and run around in the mountains with, because you have to be in shape. And I was like, oh God, it's like barrier of entry to friendship here is super high. And I've also really appreciated like the role of running that's played throughout my life, right? Like where through college, it was sort of like very much competitive, running, racing, rinse and repeat. And, since graduating college and, living in Jackson, having a job, running has like provided such an amazing outlet from whether it's just like, almost like therapeutic, where it's just like, I need 30 minutes outside just to clear the head, just go for a run, chill out. And it's been really cool to see how much running has like changed over the years. I'm like not 25 anymore. So like, I love to run hard. I love to like still race, but I also realize that like my fastest days in the 800 are probably behind me, not probably, definitely behind me, which is totally fine. And I just like, I love this personal exploration that the sport can offer, right? Like no one's ever going to tell you like, this is how fast you're going to ever run in your entire life. Like the only way you're ever going to find that out is to be sort of on this like continuous pursuit of like going after and chasing goals. And I think one thing I've found myself is like, I sort of have to do it my way. Like I think I'm a pretty stubborn person in some areas, and I don't need like necessarily a coach or like a cheerleader to get me out the door in the morning to go for a run. And I almost love like succeeding and failing by my own ridiculous test in the sport. And so I've had like a lot of learning moments, mostly hard lessons learned in the sport, but I've also had like so much fun, and it's brought me like to the highest highs, in some areas, which has been so fun. So for me, running like is a personal passion, and now it's like something that I want to do forever, obviously, and whether that's just like going out for 30 minutes easy runs or I think last year was something I really learned where running's ebbed and flowed in my life in terms of like how intense it's been and how sometimes it can feel like a chore or almost like a second job. And I realized last year that like for me to have like a really sustainable and healthy relationship with the sport, I need to like keep it like in this fun basket. And so last year was like a really great, I think year where I just had some really awesome friends and just like running with my dog of just like, this is fun. and I'm just running every day because it's fun. And that was like kind of coming full circle for me. And like, I would sign up for races because I thought they were fun. I'd show up at a starting line because I knew it was going to be fun. And I wouldn't worry about like, oh, I need to run a certain time or I need to try and win the race or whatever. It's like, if you're having fun, you're going to be running well, running fast. And so that is like what I focused on. And it's still like, even, it's funny. I had signed up for the Houston Marathon, which was last weekend, and flew all the way down there. And I'd been kind of just like struggling with some stoke. I was just like, man, like I should do this. It's a fast course. I'm in decent shape, like probably a good opportunity to do this. And I got to Houston. I was like, I really don't want to do this. Like, it's not like like the stoke wasn't there. I was kind of dealing with a little bit of a shin thing. And I was like, I'm just not going to race. Like, I just made the decision, like literally Friday or Saturday before the race at like 6 p.m. I was like, I'm just going to go get barbecue and chill out. Like,
Nice.
and like, I was talking to some friends like, well, you could do it as a workout. You could just kind of like, and I was like, yeah, but I just don't want to. And, as soon as I said like, okay, I'm not racing, I wanted to go for a run. Like I wanted to go out and just go for a run. And I was like, and it just was a good reminder. It's like, okay, like a little bit too much intensity is starting to creep back in, and just like keeping it in a really fun, healthy, headspace. Cause like life is stressful enough. Work is stressful enough. I really don't need or want running to like serve as a component of that.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's beautiful, man. In a lot of ways, like that's a very adult thing to do, to be like, well, I'm just not feeling this, and it's not in my ideals of like what I want to do. I would imagine after the fact, though, you probably felt, like you said, you wanted to go for a run. Probably felt relieved in a lot of ways too. Like I'm going to take this pressure off myself and put that on for another day. Like there's always an opportunity to race. There's always an opportunity to throw down.
Yeah, exactly. And like that was. Like don't get me wrong, I love hammering. Like I love going out and like running as hard as I possibly can. And yeah, to your point, it's like there's always more starting lines. And my biggest fear for this one was like, if you go out and you throttle yourself and you like finish this race and you're just like, I'm kind of done with the sport. Like I just don't want that sensation and feeling. And I was like, if you say no to it now, you're going to have another opportunity whenever you want it to go to a starting line. And that's another reset button that you can hit. But like, if you go and you like go to the well and back and it's just like really, really not fun for 26.2 miles, like I just know myself well. I'm like, you won't run for like 5 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, just like you'll put it on the back burner and be like done for a while. And I didn't want that because like I do love running. But.
Yeah. Well, and dude, 2+ hours. I mean, you're probably running on somewhere 2:30 and under, or a little over, something somewhere in that range. So like based off of your running. So that's a long time to really hate it. Like to be in that. And yeah, that's not a short period of time to be in your own head being like, well, fuck this.
Right.
Like, what am I doing? Yeah.
You can rally for a 5K, 10K, and even probably a half. And that's what I was struggling with. I was like, but a marathon's so far. It's so like, even if you're super psyched and super excited for it, like the last 6 miles of a marathon are so hard, regardless of where your mindset is at the beginning. I was like, if you're feeling this right now, like, dude.
Yeah. Right call. You made the right call. I got to ask you this though.
Too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I mean, dude, there's perks to being down there. If there is any, like that's the way to do it. The stoke for Broken Arrow. What intrigues you? Because I like this. Like this is because, like for instance, like Rendezvous, right? You've raced world-class competition there. You've raced world-class competition at like Cirque Grand Targhee. This is just that on a bigger level and a longer race. What gets you stoked for something like that? Because like I think you have the opportunity to do extremely well at a race like this.
It's so funny because like I signed up for Broken Arrow thinking that like, okay, this would be like a cool, like I could just like sign up, show up and run, and like no, like I didn't get like, I just signed up like organically, right? Like, and then I saw you come out with like the 46K elite men, and I was like, what? How the hell did I make this list? What the fuck?
I know who's who in the sport.
But no, I mean, I like the kind of like, the personal exploration of the sport of running is like what ultimately like interests me the most. And, I've done some long trail runs, in the Tetons and in the Whites and things like that. And I've had a lot of fun, doing them. And I raced a 55K like in 2016, maybe. It was like just outside Denver. And that was a huge humbling and learning experience. But yeah, this year I was like, I want to put something different on the calendar. And I had been to Broken Arrow before just as like a spectator, and it looks like a really, really fun event. And just like the course looks cool, vibe, community, just sort of environment looks really, really, really special. And yeah, I figured why not? So I think from a training perspective, I'm going to try and ski a bunch and get a bunch of vert in and, continue to run over the winter. But yeah, there's a few other goals like this summer that I really want to tackle that are in like that 50 to 55K sort of distance. Not necessarily races, but just like routes and things that I want to run. And so Broken Arrow just seemed like a great place to like use the competitive atmosphere of a race to sort of bring out like hopefully some good energy and see what happens. But I have no idea, dude. Like I've never ran a step on that course. I know like one person from that list that you just posted, and I'm just gonna go and again like toe the line, have fun,
Enjoy
see what happens, and go
absolutely.
for it. Yeah.
On to my next question, actually, you kind of segued that perfectly because you talked about some adventure runs and things like that. I was going to ask you, like, are you, especially during the summer months, man, are you one of those athletes to get out and just like love like longer days in the mountains? And to piggyback off that, like, do you explore a lot? Like, I feel like there's just like endless opportunities in the area that you live in. Like, I would be in the winds like every weekend if I could, just because the winds are just like super legit. Yeah, like talk about that and some of the like the projects. You don't have to give away anything that you might you might be doing this summer, but some of the things that like get you excited.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like there's so many awesome adventures and things to do and like link ups to make and up this mountain, down this canyon, back up something else and loop around something 7 times and go through it. Yeah, and I mean the thing that I've like really, really been enjoying is running with my dog. And so unfortunately you can't run in the park with a dog, but there's plenty of other places to run in this valley. And, the Winds is another great example. Like you can run forever there. So I don't know if there's like specific things from like a project perspective that I'd be working on this summer, but just plenty of adventures to go run around and have fun outside. There's a few things in New Hampshire that I want to do. The Pemi Loop is something that like is really, really fun. And I got throttled really hard on it this past fall in a great way. And I'd love to go back and like run that. I think that's about 30 miles, maybe 29, 30 miles. Kind of like just same thing in the backyard growing up. I ran it this past fall was the first time I ever did it. And like, it was just so cool. It was so much fun. There's so many like, just interesting points along the way. And I ended up not bringing enough water, ran out of water, drank from a stream, got Giardia, and just like really had a doozy of the next 2 weeks. But it was so cool, dude. It was just so much fun to like run fast in the whites because the trails in the whites versus like the Tetons are so different. Like if you get up high in the Tetons and like you're running the Grand or, something, in the park and like, yeah, that's, you're up scree fields and you're doing some like technical climbing and things like that. But like the ruggedness of the whites and the trails from like literally mile 1 to mile 30 is just, it's a different game. It really like, it forces you to just think differently, I think. And also just like, it's way more physical in some areas. And just so unforgiving in a lot of aspects too. So that's like something that, and I'll go back, like my family's still back there. So I'll go back sometime this summer and hang out with them. And my brother's a runner and he's like constantly exploring stuff. So, but no, I mean, for the Tetons, there's endless adventures. I don't know, just probably try and keep up with Anna Gibson on some stuff if that's possible.
She's a monster, dude. We don't even know how good Anna is.
I mean, I have a pretty good idea how good Anna is. I mean, I coached her in high school, but she's on another level right now. But yeah, no, I think there's some stuff here that I just want to have fun with. And again, like it's not going to be competitive or for an FKT or anything. It's just going to be getting out the back door and having fun.
Is there a chance I was saving this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to ask this because like we kind of talked about that. We already kind of covered the competition aspect, but like, dude, you did like you went top 15 at the U.S. Mountain Running Championship last year at Sunapee. Like that's a pretty legit result. Like, do you think maybe this year you might go back? Is there a chance like you could end up back? Because that's another one that's probably not too far from home for you.
Yeah, I think it's at Sunapee again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, that's like 45 minutes from where I grew up, south, 45 to an hour. Yeah, I don't know. Like that was a really fun one. I remember this past spring. So I knew Anna was going to be there and just some other friends that, were going to be there. So I was like, oh, of course, it's 45 minutes from the house. Obviously, I'm going to do it. And then I saw you had to be like a USATF like member to be in like the actual championship race. And it was like, I was like not going to pay the money to be a member of it just for this one thing. So I was like, I'm just going to sign up for the race. And yeah, I don't know. It was a blast though. Like I hadn't been to Sunapee since 8th grade ski racing. So it was just like
Oh wow.
a really amazing, like kind of homecoming. And yeah, it was a super fun race. And, it was cool to also just like the sport of trail running is like on this insane rocket ship ride right now where I remember kind of there's like maybe like 3/4 of a mile into the race. He kind of like flattens off a little bit before it pitches up again on the first loop. And I remember looking at the course. I'm like, all right, if I can just like hang on that first climb and then I can run that like flatter section pretty fast and maybe try and make some room up there. And got to that flatter section and just everyone around me was like absolutely sprinting. I was like, well, we're not catching anyone here because we're all now running like sub 5-minute pace. And you're like, damn, these boys are quick. So I don't know. Yeah, if I'm back in New Hampshire, I'll totally do it. We'll see. It was just really fun again. And I think it was cool. Yeah, it was just cool to see so many people out there.
Yeah.
People I hadn't seen in a really long time. And like the sport of trail running, like, I mean, better than anyone, just like, it's just absolutely outstanding right now. And so it's really fun just to see all these unbelievable runners showing up to Sunapee, New Hampshire and throwing down. It's neat.
Yeah, it's crazy. What do you think of the sport? Like, especially as someone that you're both a participant, you're also, wrapped up in, a business that, really pertains to a lot of trail runners and things like that. Like, I mean, I feel like it's on a rocket ship to the moon right now. The sport is growing immensely. And then now, especially with, athletes like Cam and Anna on the skimo side going to the Olympics, like that also kind of helps get the word of the sport out as well. What do you think? Do you think we'll be an Olympic sport in 15 years? Like, what's your hot take or maybe prediction over the next few years as things start to grow?
I mean, I think from an Olympic perspective, it better be like the other Olympic sports that are now in the Olympic Games. Like trail running should absolutely be there, and hopefully shorter than 15 years. But it's real. I mean, I don't know. It's like it's crazy. And I actually just listened to your podcast with Tom Hooper, and like the amount of money that is now coming into the sport from a prize purse perspective is, I think, going to change the game. Both like obviously literally with just that money, but what I hope is like the trail community and the trail racing scene is like seem to evolve really organically, and it seems like there's awesome community. People show up, each other, and like yes, people race really really hard and it's super competitive. I just hope like money doesn't influence it in a negative way, where like I think about like the influence of like road races and some of the prize purses there. Like road culture and trail culture are very, very different. I love them both. I think like the road culture and track culture and trail culture are all phenomenal, but there is a little bit of a different attitude in some areas. And I think the trail world is like, just feels a little bit more genuine in some areas. And I think people like are able to connect with each other and like build like friendships, where not to say that doesn't happen in other aspects of the sport of running, but yeah, we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see how this changes things. And I think it's great for the sport. I think it's probably going to go through some growing pains like everything does. But I look at people that are starting to emerge as like really great ambassadors for the sport of trail running, like the trail community. And I think of people like Cam and Anna and Dan Kurtz, and just like people that are like seemingly like they're kind of doing it their way. And I think that's really inspiring, right? Like they're not following this like cookie cutter training program, coach training group, sponsored athlete protocol where it's like they're out there having fun adventures. They're out there working really, really hard. They're telling cool stories. They're showing up these races and performing at the highest level. And they're just being good stewards of the sport. And I think as long as you have that, that'll be the bedrock of it. And the competition level will rise as like they're going to foster that, like they're going to build that. So I don't know. It will be interesting. I think like this next year will be really, really interesting because it does seem like it's going to change it's going to be a new chapter in some respects. So we'll see. I'm not going to be competing for the prize money, that's for sure, but I'll be there just to have fun, hopefully.
It is wild, man. Sorry. I was just going to say it's wild because things have changed. I feel like, I mean, I've kind of been around the sport now, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I just feel like from last year to this year, things have changed like immensely. Like now we have Cam and Anna as Olympians. Now we have, $30,000 for men and women prize money for, that's just for winning the Broken Arrow 23K. And then things roll down from there. And yeah, like we talked about with Tom, there's serious prize money, $10,000 to the winner of Sunapee for an hour and a half worth of work, something like that, maybe less. So yeah, it is crazy that the sport has grown so much in just the last 12 months and where that goes. I don't know. It's interesting, but very much to your point, it is a soul sport. Like I think the community is the best aspect of it. Like the people in the sport are what make the sport, are the reason people stay. Like they find this community that seems to work and fit really well. Whereas I came from a soccer background, but I did dabble on the roads before I started doing the trail life. And yeah, the communities are different. It's just a very different type of sport. So yeah, I think that sense of adventure and that sense of soul and community kind of just makes it different. And yeah, but at the same time, like now we're starting to see high octane performance, like Anna on the 1500 is insane. And like her abilities on both sides of this, like whether it's on the roads now on the skis and on the trail, like it's kind of crazy to see these like insane athletes just kind of come over to the sport and kind of change what it means to run certain things.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like I've started to hear more like, I sort of hate like the aspects of, I'm a trail runner, I'm a road runner, I'm a track runner. Like to me, it's like, if you're a runner, you're a runner. Like you should be able to run on all surfaces. But I mean, I do know like some pro, road runners are now starting to make their way into trail. Like I think Molly Seidel just won a trail race, and Des is, going to throw down in some dirt races coming up here too. And I think that's awesome for the sport, and it's only going to draw more people in. It's only going to raise the level of competition, hopefully. And I think like it's phenomenal for the people that are involved with it now on a high level that really have an opportunity to make like a truly like a career out of it. And that's amazing. That's something that's been missing from, I think, the sport of running for so long. So it's awesome. It's just going to be like that delicate balance of like, how do you professionalize something, but keep an organic and genuine and authentic culture to it as well, which kind of, what we talked about. I think like the ambassadors and the champions of the sport will hopefully be able to navigate that. And thinking of the people who are doing it already, I have total confidence that it'll be an awesome sport. So.
It's true. I think it's a good spot to we'll put a pin in it for this time. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on. It was a great conversation. Hopefully I see you around the summer. I'm going to be I'll tell you after the fact where I'll be, but we'll hopefully meet up this summer, maybe get together for a run. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, definitely. Keep me posted. If you're in Jackson or Driggs or, coming up for the Cirque series, I don't know. Is the Targhee one end of August again?
Yeah. Probably? Yeah. It's like August 29th this year, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I'll be there for that.
Grab some runs and maybe milkshakes.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Matt. Dude, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to future conversations.
Likewise, man. Totally.
Yeah. All right, we're good. Stop. Dude, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I was going to